Oh. Mom, you know a lot of people and you have learned from a lot of people. So who has been the biggest influence on your life?
I would say my mom was the biggest influence in my life. She was always at home and I could talk with her. That is when she was not busy with her sewing clients. She worked from home. If there was ever an emergency, I could even talk with her while she was working.
Well, what kind of conversations would you have with her, and what lessons did she teach you?
She taught me to strive for excellence, to try to do my work as close to perfection as humanly possible and in as short a time as possible. She taught me to keep busy with home chores, schoolwork, music lessons, because lack of a worthy occupation could lead me into trouble. She also taught me that if I didn't have something important to say, it is better to be quiet.
Well, besides your mom, who was the most important person in your life? Can you tell me about them?
Jesus was the most important person in my life and still is. He could come with me where my mom couldn't. He could understand my thoughts and feelings better than I could myself. He made it possible for me to come to the United States with $10 in my pocket and not only graduate from college without debt, but get to travel around the world.
Well, that sounds impressive. I'm curious. What are some of the most important lessons you've learned in life?
Here is one, that no one is an island. We are interconnected, and even though I might not like everyone all the time, I can find ways to positively impact someone else's life. I can help someone without expecting something in return. And at times, I can accept help myself from someone. Here's another one, the win-win principle. Learn from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Rather than try to cause my business competitor to lose business, better to find ways in which we can collaborate so we can both win in the end.
I like those ideas. What are you the most proudest in life?
I don't like the idea of feeling proud, but if I were to name something I am rewarded by, is the progress that you, Isaiah, and your brother Paul are making every day.
Yeah, growing up is no easy task. Still growing, I know. So, how has your life been different than what you've imagined?
When I was a teenager, I had a tendency to gain extra weight, and I imagined myself as an obese, sickly person when I grew up, even though I ate what I thought was a balanced diet. Excuse me. Similar to the SAD, SAD, Standard American Diet. I found out by God's providence that a whole foods, plant-based diet is the optimal diet for humans, since that was the original prescription when people were created. Thus, I was able to not only get my weight and health under control, but help others improve their lifestyle and health. I would not have thought I would enjoy cooking, since I couldn't make myself core a dead carcass of a chicken in order to cook it and eat it. Now I am teaching vegan cooking classes, and people think my food is delicious. Surprise, surprise.
Well, do you have any regrets?
Yes, I do. I wish I knew how to love my youngest brother better. My mom, who was busy with a large family and worked to help support us, depended on me to help take care of my youngest brother. But I was embarrassed by people laughing at me as if he were my son when I was a child myself, and I distanced myself to some extent. Now he's dependent on alcohol and tobacco and not happy with his life, even though he is intelligent and has good potential.
On that note, what was your childhood like?
Kind of hectic at home. I was, still am, the middle of 5 children. The proverbial middle child. But I escaped in nature. The fields around our house provided peace and relaxation and a much needed recharge of batteries, drained by crying babies at home, or taking what it seemed like unreasonable orders from my oldest brother. It was rewarding at school. I had good grades. My parents considered I was responsible enough and didn't even have to come to school with me for one parent-teacher conference.
Do you remember any of the stories your relatives used to tell you?
I remember stories of my grandmother about tending sheep and goats, about how she learned to read because she wanted to read the Bible when she was older. I don't remember whether she went to school at all. And my mom, I remember her telling me how she would climb trees to get leaves for the animals to eat, and how she fell one time and hurt her tailbone, and it took her breath away for a second. Then she seemed to have fully recovered.
What were your parents like when you were growing up?
My parents were very hardworking people who invested their life into building up their 5 children's futures.
Oh. Well, did you get in trouble? What's the worst thing you've ever done?
I was usually very reliable for my mom and dad. Whatever they asked me to do, they knew I would do it to the best of my ability. I rarely got into trouble. One time, though, I shared the last piece of a dessert with my neighbor playmate without asking my mom. I knew that was her piece. I didn't know she cared that much about it, though. When she didn't find it where she had left it, my mom was very upset and spanked me really hard with my dad's belt.
And can you tell me how you got into your line of work?
I have an aunt who is a nurse. She's retired now. I got to visit some of her patients with her when I was little, and I thought that was a nice work to help people feel better. Everyone had respect for her, and she knew just what to say or do to help them feel better, get over their illness. Also, I noticed that she had a good life because the pay was pretty good. I applied for nursing school at my mom's suggestion. It was a difficult school to get into, but with her encouragement and God's help, I made it through.
Well, what exactly did you want to be when you were growing up?
I noticed one time when I went to the dentist that one of the nurses had been designated to work in prevention of disease, dental and general. I was thinking that she must be really smart to come up with those posters and encourage people to prevent disease. Treating disease seemed to be painful, and I felt sorry for the patients. Prevention attracted me. I wanted to know how you can do that.
Huh. Well, you're working a lot this time. If you plan on retiring, what would you do after?
After I retire?
Yeah.
Retiring seems to be far in the future for me. I don't see any details about it clearly. I should probably invest into a retirement plan so I can hopefully travel and have a comfortable life upon retiring. If I'm healthy, I don't plan on sitting in a rocking chair and watching TV when I retire, but keep active.
Well, what are some of your favorite stories from your work life so far?
Stories related to success, especially using natural remedies when traditional medicine was at a limit. Russian steam bath. Have you heard of it before?
Yeah, you talked about it a few times before.
It's a form of hydrotherapy or water treatment. This Russian steam bath helped a nurse from Japan overcome meningitis, which is usually a deadly disease. This nurse was allergic to the medicine that was available for her for this specific type of meningitis, but she fully recovered. I got a Christmas card from her. A patient in ICU with extreme respiratory distress related to pneumonia and not responding to antibiotics anymore was able to start breathing better in a matter of half an hour because of a general revulsive hydrotherapy treatment I gave her and taught the nurses there to do for the patient when I would be gone. Also, one lady's cholesterol level dropped from 700, very high level, high risk for stroke or heart attack. So it dropped from 700 to 400, still very high, but significantly lower than the previous one. And all this in a matter of 3 weeks while she changed her lifestyle. Then there are different people who are able to get their diabetes under control and not need medication anymore, or if they still needed some medicine, just a small dose.
Okay. Well, what's your religion and what's your spiritual beliefs?
I am a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. I believe that while I strive for perfection, I come short. But Jesus' sacrifice paid for my shortcomings, and He will present me as perfect and prepare me for a place in His kingdom where there will be no sorrow, no tears, no sick people, but only happiness. He's coming soon to bring peace unto this war-torn planet. War-torn, I'm sorry.
Well, where's your family from?
Both my parents were born and lived in Romania, Eastern Europe. That is where I was born and grew up as well.
Oh, well, who was your favorite relative?
I would say my younger sister. She always made me laugh. She's the one I spent the most of my free time with growing up. We went to the mountain and to the beach together. We sang in choirs together, and she was never too shy to tell me exactly how she felt about me. She's still my best friend, even though we live on different continents.
What traditions have been passed down to your family?
Traditions? Here is one. Keeping the Sabbath as a holy day. That means abstaining from work, attending church, worshiping God, and hanging out with family and friends at home or in nature on Saturday. The Bible's seventh-day Sabbath.
Well, what was the most profound spiritual moment of your life?
Every day is a spiritual walk with God. A special highlight was when I participated in singing the Messiah Oratorio. Then, at different crossroads in my life, I felt the spiritual influence of God, either through unexplained comfort or a saving idea. When you were about 4 years old, you had symptoms that doctors didn't have a solution to. But God directed me to natural remedies, and the annoying symptoms went away.
Well, you mentioned the Messiah Oratorio. How has music impacted your life?
Music was and is an important part of my entertainment, spirituality, and healing. I started singing in children's choir when I was very young. I also took piano lessons starting in first grade, which at first seemed to be a torture rather than enjoyment. But as I became more proficient, I started enjoying it. Now, when I feel sad or overwhelmed, I listen to or play music. Sometimes I listen to music at work to help me focus better. And I can tell it really works.
Well, thank you for sharing your insights to me. I enjoyed talking with you, and I hope that I can learn many more things in the future.
I enjoy talking with you as well.